Harry Nemra from Collider, and I'm so excited to be here tonight.
My name is Rob Keys, and I'm a director at Screen Rant. We have over 350 people here despite the weather, so that means a lot to us. Tonight is special for us. We host screenings for fans all the time. It's something that Collider does super well.
Please join me in welcoming James Madigan, Josh Hartnett, Katee Sackhoff. Congratulations again, everyone. This is something else. Again, I have so many questions. First one that popped in my mind came from your director statement, though, because I love hearing about how story ideas can evolve. And one of the first things that I read was you said, as soon as I met Lucas on the page, I had a strong vision of what I wanted him to be. Yeah. And then these hopes meet reality when the part is cast. So can you maybe give us a little sense of who the character was on the page, who you wanted him to be, and then what makes him uniquely Josh?
I can't wait to hear this.
Yeah. It's not that it was drastically different. I think there was just a certain attitude that we wanted him to have. I think a lot of times when you get action scripts, and this, I mean, all of us adored this script from the second that we read it, but everybody wants to make, John Wick on a this, and John Wick on a plane, and John Wick goes to Bangkok, or whatever it is. And, the attitude that we wanted to give him, you can't make John Wick unless you're Chad, and you shouldn't try. And the attitude that we were talking about here, about someone who was sort of less perfect. We were talking about kind of like anti-heroes, people like John McClane or Indiana Jones. When he gets hit, you feel how bad. He gets hit once and he falls down and he doesn't get up. And to really make sure that we could sort of track how injured he was getting, and also how down and out he was. We probably started him at a lower ebb, and the rest of that statement is basically like, as soon as I met Josh, I mean, we talked for hours, and it was like, oh my God, this is perfect, and that was the thing that really guided us through a shoot that was, you can't do everything that's on the page, and when you have to call an audible like that, the fact that we were so locked into the guy he wanted him to be really helped guide us through a really chaotic situation.
So who was it who you first thought should play this character?
You. No, there honestly was never anybody. As soon as it was given to me, it was you. So there was never anybody else involved but Josh. Honest to God.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Truly, one of my favorite qualities in a performance is when I see a character on screen and I just know with certainty, like to my core, that right there is a character that can only be played that way by that person. And I think you very much accomplished that. Before we sing your performance's praises, I do want to give you the opportunity to give James here some flowers, because I still can't believe this is your feature directorial debut. I know you have a lot of other experience.
Thank you.
It's really an ambitious film to start with in that respect. So for both of you, what was the first thing you saw in him that made you say, like, one, I'll be in good hands with you, but also you could actually do this?
Do you want to start?
Oh my gosh. So we had a conversation and I read the script and I was like, I have to be a part of this. Like, I'm so excited to be in a film where I don't get punched in the face. I was like, this is amazing. And then we talked about it some more, and he just had such a vision for what he wanted it to look like that I just jumped on board immediately. He was so specific, and that's always a wonderful thing.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, James is very specific, and I feel like our conversations always led back to character when we first got together, and not so much about set pieces, but unless it was in reference to how the character was going to be, mentally addled in some way or another, or physically kind of hamstrung. And I thought that was a really nice way of going about it. You said to me in one of our first meetings that you wanted to be like a musical. Do you remember that? In that you wanted, you said the best musicals, the old-fashioned musicals, like the characters change through the songs. So at the beginning of the song, they're one way, and by the end of it, they've had a transformation, and that the same thing has to happen in each fight. And I was like, yeah, that's storytelling, right? And that's what it should be. It shouldn't just be this epic blowout, and then by the end of it, the character's just standing there the way they was at the beginning. There is a lot that has to happen. And so, I mean, I was super excited to have this script to begin with because I'm in my 40s. I'm in my 40s.
Can you believe it? Can you believe he's in his 40s?
I haven't done a stunt since I was 29. We were just talking about this backstage. So to have anybody trust that I could pull this stuff off was very exciting, and then to have it also be so ambitiously realized and taken from that particular tack of character first, just felt like an ideal sort of situation for an actor. Any actor would love to do that.
When we the first time we talked, Josh said, "Well, I really want to do all my own stunts," and I was like, "Well, that would be amazing, but it's a very tight schedule, and we didn't really have much prep, and that's usually when you would figure that kind of thing out." And I was like, I really, really hope that happens, but this is really, really hard. 100% of the stunts that you just saw, Josh did. He did every single bit of fighting.
That's very, very kind. It is. We had an amazing stunt team, and these guys helped me every step of the way. They made me look. They made me look really, really good. And Clayton, who was he was like my go-to, my stunt as on the screen stunt double, but also just there to kind of guide me through everything. He would work with the rest of the stunt team to find ways, and work with me to find ways to make these things happen so that I could actually do them, which you don't always get that sort of bespoke sort of situation. But yeah, I was able to do them without dying, so that was, was nice.
You're downplaying that. Like, that is the amount of work that you took on to be able to do all of that fight coordination. And granted, there was a team around you for sure, but like, that is so hard to do, especially with your dialogue, especially staying true to like the arc of the character. Yeah. That is hard, and Thanks. You did amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Speak the truth. Before I get too lost in the stunts of it all, I did want to make sure to highlight two scene partners you both have. Josh, I'll start with you because I thought Charithra was just like something. Like, I see you in this movie and you pop so big right out the gate. I'm like, who's going to go toe-to-toe with him on the plane? And she's electrifying in that role. So what's the first thing you saw her do, either in prep or on set, that made you think, like, yeah, she's really going to pop in this movie?
I love Charithra. She is the most inappropriately ambitiously talkative human being I've ever met in my life. And she's so bright, and she asks so many questions. And we had such a lovely time getting to know each other, but it was immediate. You walk into a room with Charithra, and there's a whole new thing to contend with. It's not about you anymore. It's about the millions of things she wants to know. And so you're going to be there kind of answering as much as you can, and then most of the time she's going to get bored because you can't answer them all, and move on to someone else and find some more answers. She's electric in person, so I knew she was going to be electric on screen.
Do either of you recall a big burning question she had that, I don't know, really enhanced a beat of the movie, maybe?
I mean, it wasn't even about the movie most of the time. Yeah, it was about literally anything that she was thinking about at any moment. But it was all kind of, then it would circle back to the movie sometimes. But she's just a ray of sunshine. She's just,
She's a bright light. We got so lucky with her. I mean, she was in Bridgerton, so it's not like she was, but she sent a self-tape where, she got like a little flight attendant outfit and she acted this scene out, and I was just like, wow, she was just perfect from day one. So we adored her. She was a pillar of the shoot for sure.
I had also read somewhere that initially her character didn't have any fights in this. At what point did you realize that needed to change?
Well, I didn't want her to be like a damsel in distress, and I didn't want it to be a situation where she's just getting saved all the time. But also to do these kinds of stunts, especially when you don't have a big prep where you can really sit down and practice them, and if the only thing that you've done is Bridgerton, it's sort of like, is she going to take to this? And I knew a place where I wanted her to get that, and it could be a thing where it's like, Lucas is like, I gotta save her, and then holy shit, she saves herself. And it fit in there really nicely, and it was like, okay, that'll work. Let me go to her. And I was like, do you think maybe? And she was like, my God, yes. And she was so excited to do it. So I was like, okay. And a lot of times actors say they want to do that, and then when you get into it, sometimes they can, sometimes they can't. She started working with the stunt guys, and within like 20 minutes, she could run that whole fight, like without pause. It was incredible. So.
She's something else in this.
Yeah.
Julian is also something else. I'm such a big fan of his. Katee, do you remember the first moment you realized, like, yes, he is the hunter to my brunt?
It's so interesting because he also talked a lot. And like, he was so joyful and such a ball of energy every single day. And he brought like 110%. And like, I was like jet lagged, and he was like, this is amazing. Yeah. And he brought such an interesting dynamic to Brunt, who's so controlled the entire time. That I never knew what he was gonna do, which was really fun. And he's just the most excited, like, game person I've had a chance to work with.
Very
He's
positive.
Really positive and so much fun. And always game to do anything crazy, which I loved about him. He took a character and really, really made it his own and made it more than what it was on the page, and I loved that.
Yeah, the line, well, isn't that a bag of dicks?
Yeah.
He made that up, like, on the spot. He was like, isn't that a bag of dicks? He was like, all right, that works.
Hearing about that energy doesn't surprise me, given the performance on screen. And also, he is like an A+ producer, doing like incredible things for Bulgarian storytelling right now.
Yeah,
He's really
he is.
something else.
He's a busy guy.
I wanted to stick with that part of the story. Katee and James, I want to get your take on this, because I feel like with a movie like this, it can be really, really challenging to have control room material keep the energy level just as high as these wild fights on the plane. So what are some top priorities the two of you had in order to accomplish that? Because I think you did.
Well, to just tell everyone, keep saying it faster. It was one of those things. They kind of have the thankless job in the sense that if we don't have those scenes, there's kind of no story. They really are buttressing the plot, and to just find as many ways as we could to get through it with, get to the point. Move the camera as much as possible. I wound up seeing, and this is going to be a terrible reference, but there's these all these scenes in Armageddon with Billy Bob Thornton, where like it's the most exciting control room you've ever seen, and it was sort of, that's kind of over the top, and they have lots of money, but it was, for those kinds of things, you just need to make sure that you keep it moving as much as possible, and that you hit the points the plot points that you need. But also William, the Shang-Chi, there was the guy that played Simmons and Julian would just constantly they were just constantly telling jokes, and like William would do these Brando impersonations. So like there were always these comedic moments that were kind of coming up that we were trying to figure out how to infuse into the story. I mean, we shot all that like in a matter of days. It was a very quick shoot.
I think we did it really quick, like 4 days, I think, or something like that. Yeah. It was. I just wanted Catherine the entire time to be really hungover, and like she comes to work, and like we've all been there. Like all you want to do is like wrap it up fast so you can go home, And it's like the worst day ever when you're hungover. It's just like everything falls apart. And so I just wanted her to have this level of disdain the entire time for everyone that talks to her.
So
at all time.
A quick story. So one of the first times we talked, like after you were officially cast, you were like, I just want one thing. I want to kill Hunter at the end of it. Because that wasn't there. And I was like, yeah, okay, why not, And and so we're like, Julia, we're gonna kill you. He's like, I won't be back for the sequel. And I was like, oh, I guess not. But so we shot that. You wouldn't believe it, but we actually shot that at the airport in Hungary. Like the terminal's right there. We got out there that day, and it was just completely fogged in. So we were at this location. It was really hard to get because planes are landing nearby. It needed all these permits. And it was pointless because we can't even see the terminal that we were there to shoot. But anyway, it was hard to get anything in, and they would only let a few people in. And so the fake gun that Katee was supposed to use for that scene where she takes it out and shoots him, they wouldn't let it through.
Because it's an active runway. Like, you can't get a gun through customs. Like, we couldn't even take liquid more than 3 ounces. Like,
they would only let like 2 crew members through. Like, yeah. So we got there to shoot it, and they were like, "There's no gun," and we were like, "Really?" And what are we gonna do? So she's actually holding her sunglass case.
Because they're like, I guess we won't do it. And I was like, I am killing him.
Yeah.
I am killing him.
So I was like, we're just going to keep the focus on him. I was like, Julia, just keep looking at the thing and I'll cue you when to die. And she basically takes out her sunglass case and goes, boom. There's no gun. There's no gun.
And it felt so good.
It totally works. Yeah.
You're so convincing.
Yeah.
That's so impressive. I love that. Digging into the visuals now, the first thing I have to ask you about is working with Matthew Flannery, who's just like one of the best. He shot The Raid. I mean, you really don't get a better action cinematographer than him. But there's one particular thing in our press notes that I jotted down that you had said. We met and I explained that this is not your run-of-the-mill action movie. And then you said, I let him in on a few secrets I had planned and he was in. Do you remember what those secrets were?
Well, you know, the whole the whole toad venom thing wasn't really written like that. You know, mostly the tone of it. Like, everyone's saying John Wick on a plane, and me and Josh are like, we're going to be in pajamas. You know what I mean? It's going to have a different kind of tone to it, and we do want there to be this redemption story and to lean into the character a bit more, and to really make sure that we're filming it in a way that we're kind of tracking the degradation of this person physically. And to just have it not be, you know, your boilerplate kind of action movie. The third act had all these different pieces of these things, but I wanted to kind of have it not be as unconventional as we could afford to make it, because I knew Josh was on board for that. And you know, the more I pitched those kinds of things, he was like, "Oh, well, great." I mean, I kind of threw his name out as a joke, like, we should get the guy from The Raid. And then he was kind of like, yeah, I'll do it. We were like, oh, all right, great. And he also is the camera operator. So 90% of the shots you see, he's actually holding the camera. The cinematographer's actually holding the camera. And he's like 6'4". He's this gigantic guy, and it's this tiny plane that he had to squeeze into. So it's pretty amazing.
I have so many follow-up questions. Hopefully I can remember them all. The first one, can you tell us something specific that you were able to accomplish visually that only he could do? Like a particular, I don't know, a camera move or an idea he came up with that shows that no other cinematographer could have shot your movie?
I mean, the easy answer is kind of everything, because as soon as we started getting into how are we going to shoot this, you know, you work it out with the stunt guys and they do a previs. So they've got a nice, easy little camera, sometimes their phone, where they can go in and around all the seats and film it all quite easily. And we're like, well, that's all well and good, but we have a proper camera. How the fuck are we going to get in here? And it came down to having to remove seats, having to do all sorts of things that made it a lot more difficult. And because he was so accustomed to shooting like that, he could just kind of roll with it in a way that made the entire thing possible. I mean, for that scene with the blood, I have pictures of him like in a full poncho, completely covered, because he's holding the camera, just completely covered in blood.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a great follow-up question.
The ice pack and the axe in the head. But what would you say to that?
I would say that he was so much a part of the choreography of these fights that, yeah, it was like you can choreograph a fight in many different ways, but if you don't have the camera moving through it the way that he was moving through it physically, then you don't get that sense of actually being within it. And there were a couple of things that you wanted to shoot that were kind of like tracking shots down the side of the one side of the plane when other things were happening on the other side of the plane. But we always mixed that up. It would kind of then shoot across the aisle or run through, and that required like moving seats around and then moving them back. And so there was a whole team of people with the camera department and with the I forget which department it is, art department, with putting back the seats and all that sort of stuff that was kind of
the plane guys.
The plane guys.
Yeah.
And the plane guys who half the stuff was falling off and was like, I mean, that plane looks like a plane, but oh my God.
Not when we were done with it.
Not one you'd ever want to be on, because there was a lot
Well, they rehearsed in it. They worked out all the fights. The stunt guys didn't have any place. They took away their rehearsal space. So they were like, all right, fuck it, we'll do it in the set. And they worked out all their fights in the actual set. So then we went in to shoot and like everything was broken. We were like, what are you doing? But that's kind of how it went down. I mean, things were sort of falling apart.
But yeah, I mean, I think Flanagan was just kind of very much a part of the fight sequences. I mean, he was doing his own stunts too.
Yeah.
Really one of the best, and I feel like your movie just further emphasizes that. Of all of the epic set pieces in this movie, going into filming, which did you two think was going to be the toughest to pull off? And ultimately, was it, or did a different scene catch you by surprise?
I mean, I think we were always thinking that the final sequence was going to be the hardest.
Yeah.
And I think it was.
Yeah, well, the final sequence is like 8 different sequences. So when you go into something like this, I mean, this is an independent movie. This is a small independent movie. So there was a lot of talk and prep of like, well, you're going to have to let that go, and you're going to have to let that go. And I was really trying not to, but there's a point to it, which is you've got wire work, you've got blood rigs, you've got all these different things going on, and there's no way you can have all of it. And I just kind of kept saying, well, I think we'll find a way. And luckily we did, but we did shoot all those pieces last. And going into it, I honestly didn't know if we were going to get it all. As a matter of fact, that chainsaw bit, that was just the preamble. That was just the opener, and then we go to the Juju getting killed, and then we come back, and that was going to be this really bonkers scene, and then we come back for the guy getting the chainsaw in the head. The whole meat of the scene we didn't do.
That's true, but we got that great turnaround shot where it's like, oh, something really bad is going to happen, then we cut away, and then we come back and we just see the chainsaw go through the head. I think it works comedically so much better. And then also, I would say that you're tenacious as hell. So you kept saying like, people kept saying like, we're gonna cut this, or we're gonna cut this day, and we're gonna do this, and he would be like, well, we're gonna find a way to do it. Just will it into existence. And it was amazing to watch that. Like sometimes with just enough ingenuity and enough the right temperament and just like having it in your head and being able to work really, really hard, you can make something like this happen for not as much. I mean, this is, in my opinion, as entertaining as a movie can get, and we didn't have to spend $200 million to do it. It's kind of like,
Thank you.
I'll harp on that point a little more, because I do think it's really important, and maybe zero in on a specific thing. Can you recall something that, I don't know, might make an audience member go like, there's no way you could do that without $200 million or something of the sorts, and then tell us how you accomplished it on an independent film budget?
I don't know. I mean, you tell me what in there looks like. I mean, I did half the visual effects myself. I feel like they're terrible. I'm like, oh, I did that on my laptop. So I don't know. I worry that it. I don't know. Does anything look expensive?
It doesn't.
To you?
It looks fantastic. Shut up, Jim.
Everything.
Jesus Christ, he's not selling the movie. We're here to sell the movie. The movie's great.
Yeah.
Everything looks expensive.
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
Good.
He also does visual effects. It's not like he woke up one day and was like, I'll tinker with this on my, we're not getting the budget for it, so I'll just make up how to do. You knew how to do it.
For anyone who doesn't know, a background in visual effects, and you're also like a very accomplished second unit director, and those two skills come together brilliantly here, and I think everyone can see that in the finished product.
Thank you.
And a theater director. We'll say that as well. You're a theater director as well. So, also, that's the acting side.
I love the actors. It's my favorite part of it. I keep
least that's what
winding
you
up
told
in,
us.
I keep winding up in these situations where it's having to shoot action scenes and Transformers and things like that. But that's really my favorite part of it, because that's the X factor. The amount of times that these guys came to me where I'm like, I have it in my head, I know how it works, and then Josh would be like, well, what about this? And I'd be like, oh wow, that's way better. There were so many things. I mean, the pajamas were you. That bit with the gun was it. It's a very, very long list of things that 100% came from you in prep, came from you in the moment, that are now in the movie. That I just love that X factor of what the cast brings is the magic of it for me.
I'll build on that a little more now with the two of you, because again, this is another thing that you're explaining, and I see it all over the movie as far as action goes, and also more dialogue-heavy control room material. What is it like working with James as an actor's director in a way that lets you get all that work done, but in a way that, I guess, ups character development and lets them as a person shine through?
Catherine had a lot of dialogue, and exposition is something I love to do. I really love it. I'm a weirdo. It's I do love it. But he came to me and he said, so we're not going to shoot any of this on camera, except for these pieces. And I was like, oh, no, I'm prepared for all of it. And he went, all of it? And I was like, yeah, all of it. And he went, we don't have time to do all of it. And I was like, we can get it. I was like, turn the camera on. I promise we can get this. I know we can get this. And he allowed me to do that, which takes time on a movie. But I wanted to find out who she was. I wanted to have her movements. I wanted to live in her skin. And for a character like this that comes in and out very, very quickly, you don't always get the luxury to do that. And he allowed me to do that. And I was so thankful because it made me feel like he believed in me, which just made it so much more fun.
He believed in you so much. From word go, we were in prep, and he was like, Katie's this character. And it was, so obviously you are. So you guys were on the same wavelength. I came down to set one day. I had 2 days off on this, and 2 of them were when these guys were doing it. And I came down to set and watched them work, and they were at breakneck speed. Everybody was like, hi, Josh, go back to work. And that was it. But I watched you guys for a little while, and you guys were just on fire.
We have an entire backstory though, Josh. Yeah. So for the next movie, we're ready.
Okay.
We created all of it.
Okay, good. I can't wait to read it.
I kind of want a prequel with what happened before, and I want the sequel too. So let's make this a cinematic universe, please. I'm going to toss it to the audience in just a second, but because somebody brought up blood, and because I love horror and gore and blood rigs and all that fun stuff, I have to touch on that briefly. Can you maybe each tell me a bloody part of the movie that made you go, I cannot believe this is what we have to do to make it look like that on screen in the end?
I can say one thing that was gross.
I'll take that.
So a lot of the stunt guys were this excellent crew, right? Who've been working together for a long time, and some of them were the granddaddies of the group, and they'd been through. They had all their stripes, and they would come in to do specialty things occasionally. And so my fight with, and I forget his name, but
Balaj.
Is it Balaj?
Balaj. They're all named Balaj.
Yeah.
It's a very common name.
It was a very common name. Yeah, so Balaj was at the end where I have to strangle him with the seatbelt. He was so happy to have the blood caps in his mouth and to spit blood everywhere. And there were so many times when Balaj was spitting blood right into my mouth.
Oh, there's a really funny moment, and it's in the movie because it was the only take we did of it. But when Marco, this is a true story, when Marco, who's the guy that he fights in the bathroom, Marco Zaror, when he's dead, and at the very end he falls off the toilet, the way that he fell, his knee went straight into Josh's crotch. And if he had if he had done anything, it would have screwed me because it was the only take of it that I had. And if you watch that, there's a moment, because I need to give it like a few more frames after he's down. There's like a moment right as he hits the ground where Josh kind of goes, but he did not break. He stayed completely in character. It's amazing. There's one quick.
And now I can't have any more kids, but that's okay. I've got plenty.
There's this. So I wanted to have all these prosthetics. I really wanted the chainsaw thing to be like the Crazy 88s and Kill Bill, and all these real rigs. And it was like, okay, this prosthetic, that prosthetic, and it was like, okay, we have money for 0 prosthetics. And I was like, oh, and then how are we going to do this? So there was this big shop that had all these body parts and different things. So the one bit where he slices through the guy is basically on him, and then it cuts to seeing through the guy as Josh, tripping is like, whoa, and that is me and the prosthetic guy. They had a body that came apart like this from some like medieval show or something, and and it was meant to be laying on the ground in 2 parts, and we basically had them tear a costume in half and put it on this body. And I'm holding like the arm part of it, and the other guy's holding the body part, and we just pulled it apart with some blood squirting through as we, it's some real Sam Raimi shit. I mean, there a lot of the prosthetic, like the first one, when he didn't have any money, a lot of those things were us finding whatever we could, they gave us like a kit of parts, and we really made it work, because I'm like, this can't be CG. Number one, we don't have any money for CG, but it's going to be better practical.
Are you sensing a theme? I feel like there's a theme amongst these guys.
But the practical stuff really worked. It was it wound up saving us.
Looks so good. It delights me to no end. All right, before we wrap, let's see if we can get 1 or 2 questions. I'm going to go first hand with the phone. Yep.
All right, so first of all, congratulations to all 3 of you and for obviously incredible work. For you, James, I wanted to ask, because you've been working in the industry for so many years, what is a lesson or a filmmaking technique that you took from a previous film that you worked on and applied to your directorial debut?
Oh, I mean, it sounds like a bullshit answer, but like all of them. I mean, everything. But I worked on this movie. Sean Connery's last movie, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and it was with all right, that's got some stories. And the director, Stephen Norrington, he had built the alien for Aliens, like he was a prosthetic guy, and we use so much in-camera stuff for like hide and everything. I mean, it was just all over the place, and it was really kind of glorious in how he would use those things and shoot those things. And like we wouldn't have a CG hide. We would shoot it like how they did the Hobbits and Gandalf, like forced perspective and all these different things. So I really take a lot from that, I would say, just in how much better it is to try and do things practically than to use too much CG, probably.
All right, 1 more. I'm going all the way up top there. You're the first hand that I saw. Yep.
My question's for Josh, actually. So it's funny that James brought up League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Kind of ties into my question. I know you worked with Reeve Carney on Penny Dreadful, and he's like a Broadway legend. And I was just wondering, have you ever thought about doing a Broadway show? What would be your dream role, and why is it Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde?
So, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I have, actually. I've thought a lot about doing a Broadway show. I live in the UK now. My wife is English. So whenever the thought of doing theater comes up, she's like, oh, you'll be home, because she thinks London. So like, it would be a really tough sell to be like, you take the 4 kids and I'll go to New York for the indefinite future if it does well. but I would love to work. Of course, everyone would love to work on Broadway. There was a moment where I thought I was going to do something years ago, and it just never came together in the way that we wanted to. But I am going to go back and do some theater soon. I was supposed to do something this summer, but there's another project I have to do so I can't. But that was going to be in London, and I will. And as far as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde goes, you think that that's what I should do? I'm gonna look into it because like that sounds like a lot of fun. Has it been done recently?
Not in a long time.
No?
Like you're perfect.
Okay.
Trap.
Trap
and then this together. Perfect. And you don't have to come to New York.
Are you an agent? What agency do you work at?
Big fan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I always say we
Great
use
question.
these Q&As as opportunities to manifest things. It feels like maybe we're doing it right now. But before this gets drowned out by applause, I have to kindly ask you all to stay seated so they could zip off to the next thing. Now, if you want to come to more screening events like this, spread the word if you had fun tonight. Doing this ValNet exclusive screening was something else, and I appreciate you all being here to share it with us. And also, one of the most important things, if you like fight or flight, which of course you do, and you want to see more independently made action movies, spread the word and make sure people go see it in theaters. I'm going to thank you all for being here with us tonight. Congratulations
much.
on your movie.
Thank you.
Thank you.